Ukraine's military is claiming to have made small advances in 2 areas of the front line in the east of the country. It isn't yet clear whether this is part of a much-anticipated counter-offensive against Russian forces. Despite the danger in these areas, thousands of Ukrainians are returning to their homes close to the front line, even though officials are urging them to stay away. Our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse has been to the eastern town of Pokrovsk to find out why some are deciding to go home.
The end of the line. We're on a journey which people are being told not to take. A train, not just to the battlefield, but home. Victoria has had enough of being a refugee and is heading back with her precious cargo, baby Yeva.
It was impossible to live like that. We traveled all around Slovakia and Ukraine, but we have to settle our family. This is where we belong.
After travelling across the country, she's welcomed by who she left behind. Her husband, Serhiy.
I feel overwhelmed. I'm very glad to see my beautiful daughter and my wife.
Here, men typically stay behind to either fight or, in Serhiy's case, work. He and thousands of others chose to stay for this coal mine. It's a major employer which binds Pokrovsk together. Workers have to balance their safety with simple economics. I had to continue working, Volodymyr tells us. I also need to financially support my family who've come back. His employer is still hiring staff. Despite the dangers, it's an enticing prospect for those thinking about returning. Mining is, after all, part of the Donetsk region's DNA. Before the full-scale invasion, Pokrovsk's population was 65,000. It dropped to a third, but is now rising. It's become a destination for those escaping occupied cities. Residents have also been enticed back by power and water being restored. But the sharp end of this conflict is just 26 miles from here. It's why locals are being told to stay away. Is it safe enough for people to return to Pokrovsk?
No, even though Pokrovsk is not right at the front of the Donetsk region, we cannot say it is a safe city. Multiple rocket launchers can reach here.
On the outskirts of the city, closer to that threat, is the last line of defence. Amidst all of the talk of a Ukrainian counter-offensive, there's always a risk of the Russians breaking through the line. There is a sympathy in the trenches for those wanting to come home. If you have to die, Vyacheslav tells me, it's better to die at home than somewhere abroad. It's the watchful eyes of soldiers like Vyacheslav which are allowing people to move back into harm's way. For Serhiy and Victoria, it's a conscious decision.
Who knows when it will become safe here? Maybe a year, 2 or 5. We don't want to wait even 1 year. Overall, we are prepared. Yes?
In these times of turmoil, there is a hope and belief they won't last forever. Futures depend on it. James Waterhouse, BBC News, Pokrovsk in eastern Ukraine.
Well, tonight, a group of paramilitary fighters who are opposed to Moscow say that they've captured several Russian soldiers in the Belgorod region, which is near the border with Ukraine. They say they intend to hand them over to the Ukrainian authorities. Attacks in the region have increased over recent days, with Moscow blaming Ukraine, but Kiev has denied having any direct involvement. Well, we can go back now to James Waterhouse, who is in Kiev for us. And James, what should we make of what's happening in Belgorod?
Well, first off, Rita, it is murky, but I think the extraordinary sight of paramilitary groups moving across the border from Ukraine to Russia To claim to retake several villages and territory, to see shelling happen on a daily basis inside Russian territory, I think that's going to worry some and delight others. Kyiv officially is saying, look, nothing to do with us, but there are question marks on that. To cross the border, that takes organisation. They used Western supplied vehicles and equipment. But there will be Western allies, notably the US, who will be wary of what is going on because they have long wanted the conflict to remain within the borders of Ukraine out of fears of a World War III taking place. But there is a common ground. Ukraine is planning, is hoping to mount a significant counter-offensive. The West wants Ukraine to succeed in that, and Kyiv does too. When you have a situation where Russia is having to focus its efforts and forces on a security problem closer to home, effectively turning their back on the war in Ukraine, then that helps with that endeavour that Kyiv so desperately wants to achieve.